Hey guys, what is up? Back for another tutorial today, and I thought I'd continue on with the Facebook feed tutorial with another kind of another lesson. And today we're going to talk about how to have the feed support dynamic content in the cells. So what I mean is we have multiple friends in our Facebook account, right? So we want to be able to support things like multiple friends with different types of posts. And the main takeaway for today is I'm going to show you how to support a dynamically sized text for the friends post update. So you see how this is a little shorter than this, and this is definitely shorter in terms of height compared to the Steve Jobs post. So let's, well, first of all, make sure to check out the previous videos that I'm going to link down below that show you how to create the feed if you haven't had the chance to check it out. So let me slide this guy over just a little bit and shrink it down in Command 3. And let's go back to our finished project in the part 2 of the tutorial. And I'm just going to run it to show you the state of the application right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to first establish what we normally call a model object for each post. And we're going to do that by just creating a class called post. And post will contain a couple of properties. First, let's use a property called name. And now we can create our post. Let's say our very first post is Mark Zuckerberg. Let's go back to the other app. So Mark Zuckerberg, and we'll say let post Mark equal new post, like that. Post Mark, name is Mark Zuckerberg, and let's create a post for Steve. Post Steve, name is Steve Jobs. Great guy. And now that we have those two posts, we can allocate an array or some kind of list that will contain these two posts. So the way to do that is you can call it post like so. And you can even instantiate it above like that. So in order to put it inside of that post variable, we can do post.append and that post.append post Steve. That. And let's, okay, just built it. Everything looks fine. And now we're going to change the number of items in the section to post.count, like that. And then let's run that now and see what has changed. So you no longer see 3 posts, but instead you'll just see 2. And in order to change the name, we're going to change it inside of the cell. So look for the cell for item at index path method, and let's get a hold of our cell like this, letting the cell equal that. Let's be more specific, and then we'll downcast it as a feed cell, which is what we had before as our cell class. That way we can access feed cells name label like that and say text. And then for text, we will have to get the name like this. Let's do an if let unwrap equals, let's get our posts. Let's see, posts, index path, dot item, dot name, like that. And we'll use that name as our text. So return cell, feed cell. That looks better. So that's going to change the name label up there. And you see how Steve Jobs is down here now. That is looking a little better, but we've now lost the bottom label for the, I believe it was the location and the little globe icon. So that was set up using this attributed text in the feed cell. Now we want to use this same type of logic, but we want to just replace this with the name variable on our post. So you can do this in a couple of ways. And the easiest way is to introduce a post variable inside of your feed cell like this. And then let's make it optional here. Let's close that brace and then say did set, close that brace again. And we can start adding some code to change the label right in there. So what I mean is I'm going to take this entire attributed text setting operation here. I'm going to cut and paste like so. And this will have to be changed to that. Now, if we were to run this, we would see the same thing. I guarantee you. Cool. And to perform this logic here, we're going to need to actually call the post. So let's do feed cell dot post like that equals post index path dot item, and that'll do the post setting for us right here. And then it'll execute the setter, which is here, and it'll execute this text. So let's see, let's run that again. We'll see that it's going to revert to what we had previously. Now let's do the name setting here by unwrapping the name. Goes post.name, that, and put all of this inside the brace. Next, we just replace this with a name like that. And you'll see Mark Zuckerberg here, and then Steve Jobs at the bottom, and then we retain the attributed text styles and the little globe. So that's good. Now we want to be able to replace this meanwhile beast turned to dark side text. And to do that, we will, let's see, we will introduce the status text in here, which is status text. Make that optional. And then declare it here. So Mark is going to say, meanwhile, beast turned to the dark side. And Steve Jobs is going to say something a little different. And I'm going to grab it from my other file, which is some of his famous quotes. Let's see, like that. And now that we have those properties set on our posts, we can establish a setting of the text view label, or the text view, with status text equals post dot status text. So that's going to safely unwrap it from the post. And now text view, status text view, like that. We're going to set the text just using the unwrapped status text view. Running that, you'll see that the status text view has changed. Let me open that up just a little bit bigger. So that is the same, but this is kind of cut off and scrolling like that. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that this text view resizes as you introduce longer or shorter text. That's the tricky part. That's very tricky. But there's a very easy way to do that. I'm going to show you right now. First, let's go back to our vertical constraints that we introduced in the last tutorial. And notice that V2 right here is, let's see, 0, 1, 2. So V2 is actually the status image view right here. And so this is something that I didn't go over in the last tutorial. And the thing is, the view inside of constraints that are established in the visual format like this, the one view that does not have a height count, like 24 or 44 or 44 like that, the view that doesn't have a specific height will expand the entire width or the entire height of the cell. And what I mean is the image view, this dog image, is actually taking up the entire space, the entire available space of the cell. And we actually want to change that so that the text view takes the entire view of the cell. Now, what I mean is we're gonna change this dog image to be a specific height of 200. And then we're going to use V1, which is the status text view, the text view here. We're going to take away the 30 like that. And then we're going to run it again to see what happens. And so you see how this is now showing up a little differently. There's a little more space for the text view, and that is because it's taking up the remainder space inside of the cell. So to show you a little better, let's change this to 500. I'm going to change this the text view's background color to, let's say we change it to green. Background color equals UI color dot green. Running that, you'll see that the text view is actually taking up the remainder space, or all of the space that's left over for the entire cell, while everything is a static height that we've established inside of the constraints. So we're going to use that to build out the entire cell's height. So you might be saying, well, how do I know how tall this text view should be to accommodate for the entire status text? And the way you do that is you want to calculate or estimate the size of that text by doing this. So let's go to size for item at index path for your controller, and you can say, okay, let's unwrap the status text again. Equals post.indexPath.item.status text. So that's going to safely unwrap the status text. Now that we have the text, we can calculate the height by saying, okay, let's use let rect equals string status text. So NSString has a method on it called bounding rect with size, and this is going to estimate our text size for us. So we provide a size of view.frame.width and 1000. And for options, we have to provide some very strange options, but we just do it because it is required to calculate the size properly. So attributes will be the font of the text, which is a system size of 14. So if you look at the text view, it's using system font size of 14. And now context needs to be nil like that. And so this gives us the rough estimate of the entire string's height. And now we just return it by saying, okay, let's just make sure the cell is the view's entire width, like that. And then we use the rex height. So if we use the rex height, that's going to only give us the height of whatever the size of the text should be. So you see now it's giving us a bunch of warnings and errors saying that the constraints cannot be honored. So the reason for that is because the height for the cell is actually now not tall enough. Now we have to calculate what the entire height should be, and it's actually all these heights plus the height of that text view, or the estimated height. So what I mean is it's 8 plus 44 plus 4 plus 4 plus 200 plus 8 plus 24 plus 8 plus, let's just skip that 0.4. So this is all of the height numbers in here, like so. I'm just gonna cut that. And we need to add on to this height that we calculated from the estimated string. And let's call it known height, because we know what the heights are, that. And then let's add that known height in there. And this will need to be casted to a CG float. Let's run that. You'll see that now the cell is going to be correctly resized to fit the text and the remaining horizontal or vertical components, but it actually needs a little bit more space to fit the text view. And this is what I find the trick to fixing that is just add 16, and that'll be enough to contain the extra bit of space to make sure that the view fits entirely. So let's how about we turn off the scrolling, because it's a little annoying. And we do that by saying scroll enable equals nope. So those quotes definitely we do not want, and we just wanted to say scroll enable equals false. Cool. So let's run that, and okay. Now we no longer need that green background. So let's turn that guy off right there. And run that guy one more time. So now you see that this text here is showing just enough so that we can see what's kind of going on right there. And now that we turned off scroll, sometimes the text gets cut off prematurely. And what I find the solution to be is to increase a little bit of height there. And you see, so you have to play around with the specific pixel count that you want to show the text view, and then sometimes you'll just get it right like this. Now, in order to change the post, the friends image, I'm gonna import a couple of assets here. And let's see, I have Gandhi and I have Steve Jobs, like that. And then I'm going to introduce the profile image name right here. And that's going to say postmark.profile image name. I believe I called it Zuck profile for Mark Zuckerberg. And let's get Steve's. I believe I called it Steve profile. And here we're going to unwrap that. Whenever we set the post, we'll say Steve, profile image name is post profile image name. And then now we actually do the image settings. So profile image view dot image is UI image. Let's see, image named. And we're just going to use that unwrapped profile image name like that. So running that, we'll see that the profile picture is going to change to Mark Zuckerberg here and then Steve Jobs down below. So we can apply the same logic to change the dog's image view. And I'm just going to copy and paste some code over so that you can see exactly what that would look like. So I'm going to introduce a couple of different properties in here. And just get rid of this location property. And then we'll call this, let's call this status text. And I'm just going to copy and paste over, let's see. I'm just going to copy and paste over a lot of information. And let me just get rid of that. And let's use status text view for this. Cool. Now we need to append the third post that I called post Gandhi, like that. And upon running that, we'll get the third post, and also we get some of that in there. Let's see, why is that? Okay. So that will be Gandhi profile. And now we properly set up a lot of our posts with the proper content in there. And you notice that for Gandhi's post right there, it's a lot shorter than Steve Jobs' post, but then it just works. It just works really well after we calculate the estimate size, and then we add on the remaining leftover height for the rest of the other components. So let's also change the dog's image by unwrapping. Let status image name post dot status image name, that, and we can update the image view. Status image name, and running that, we'll see. Let's see, let's make it a little bigger. We'll see that the image is also now changing. So this is how you easily set up your controller to support different type of content for each cell. And notice how easy it was. And the only thing that you have to do is set up the post and then set up the data source for your controller. And upon changing the or fetching the cell for the collection view, you set up the actual UI components inside of the cell. Whether or not you want to do a post setter like this, or just grab all this this code in here, it's up to you. Personally, as a good programmer, you should keep your logic where it belongs. And what I mean by that is setting up the cell actually belongs inside of the cell, right? That kind of just makes logical sense. And your controller doesn't always need to be doing too much work. Otherwise, your file just becomes really, really heavy and hard to maintain after a while. So yeah, I actually wasn't really happy the way that I ended the second tutorial, because a lot of professional work has to deal with changing the cell sizes dynamically. And if you really understand that really well, you'll be able to do a lot of, to render a lot of different types of cells that support multiple heights is a very, very important skill to have, especially in iOS development. So now one thing that I also want to go over is how to support dynamic images not being set up as assets inside of your project. So what I mean is Facebook, the app, is pulling each one of these images, like the profile image, the dog, this image here, and this Gandhi image. It's pulling all of this off the internet with your data plan on your like physical phone. So one important fact about that is you don't want to use too much data. So in the next tutorial, watch out for it. I'm going to show you how to cache and how to fetch these images so that you can efficiently store on your device and use it whenever you need to. So yeah, hope you kind of understand how to perform the dynamic sizing. There's going to be a link on the finished project for this as well via GitHub, and you can check that out and look at how the rect is being calculated. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And keep coding and keep messing around until you figure out how things work. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, and bye-bye.